Hi, friends. How's everyone doing
Howdy,
today?
howdy.
Howdy. Howdy Sunday. Sunday howdy. I don't know. I'll figure that. I
It's
feel
a
like I've,
weird, awful Sunday because we lost an hour of sleep and I hate it.
I woke up, I went to bed really early. I told you, like, I went to bed at like 8 last night and ended up waking up, I think it was like 1:30 or 1:40 in the morning and couldn't get back to sleep. So I literally watched myself lose an hour. It was kind of weird, but
Scary. It's like Twilight Zone.
it really is like maybe,
Ooh, pitch for a
ooh,
good comic
ooh.
where you watch the time change and get stuck within that hour.
I feel like that's a totally like Stephen King, but like that reminds me, what's the one where they're in the plane? Is that the Langoliers?
Might be.
Might be. I don't know. Um, but we did lose an hour of sleep. I lost lots of hours of sleep because my sleep schedule is weird, but we're here. It's Sunday morning. We're here to talk about comics. I'm here to talk about comics. Um,
There's a lot.
yeah, there was a lot. We both picked up like we read some trades, we've read some single issues. So I do want to say hello. There's a couple people in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and say hello. And what I really want to talk about is our friend Travis here, who is like the eternal comic book hype person,
Eternal hype man.
eternal hype man. And I did go ahead and let me make sure here. I'm posting in the chat a link to his channel. Please go ahead and follow and then go ahead and like that first video. Please and thank you, because Travis is here every single time, every single video, hanging
And he's
out.
always
And
hyping us up.
yeah, 100%. So we need to hype Travis up and return the favor. So I can't wait to see what you're doing, friend. Um, and I want to go ahead and say hello to Famous Monsterful. Thank you for being here early. I don't know if you're still here, but that's okay. And then good morning to Sean. How's it going? And then hello. Um, I saw Varangian, you did a couple video or one video on Frank Thorne, who recently passed away. I caught a little bit of that one. So thank you for being here. And I want to say hello to Tony Perez. Hello, thank you for being here. And Jay, good morning. And then Ruben, thank you for being here. Okay, and then Jeezy Treasy, spring forward. I'm glad that we're getting a little bit more sunlight at night, I guess. So now that it's going to be sunset later,
Later.
I appreciate that a little bit, but losing an hour of sleep wasn't the
No.
greatest. So,
Never is.
never is. We've got some comic books to talk about, and you want to go ahead and talk about this week's comics first?
Yeah, let's get
Yeah.
into this week's comics first. So what do we want to talk about first?
Um, you know, I don't know.
What is tickling your fancy?
Part of me, so like this week was kind of a weird week. There was a lot of stuff that came out and a lot of stuff that I liked, but there were a couple that just, I don't know if it's because not a lot of like new issues came out, but like maybe a lot of them are in that like, it's like the third or fourth issue where it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. I would say March definitely is a slower month for single issues, which I'm really thankful for because February and January completely drained me with
yes.
how much new stuff there was and how much new stuff I added onto my pull list. But yeah, we've got a couple that were new this week. Why don't we go into one that isn't new but is new? Let's talk about Luna. Did you get a
Okay,
chance to read Luna?
I totally did. Do, 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 do. I haven't, they're still like open. I haven't like,
You have the gorgeous Tula Lotte cover, which I am totally insanely jealous over. Like that is absolutely beautiful.
yeah.
So Luna was very slow this week. And I'm just going to get it right out of the way. Luna disappointed me for one reason and one reason only. And that is because the mysterious, gorgeous man is on the cover, and yet I still don't know anything about him. And in fact, I think he only appeared maybe for like a quarter of a panel, if I'm being
Mm-hmm.
correct. But I will say this, Luna threw something into it that I did not expect, and that is weird hippie vampires.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting Luna to become a vampire story. I thought it was just going to be about cults and this weird cult leader and some drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and this weird demon dude, which kind of throws down with hippies and things like that. You know, it's all spiritual in retrospective. But throwing vampires into it and making it so that way, and I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I feel like if it wasn't vampires, it would make it even more creepy, but it's the idea that these 5 or so women can't live without this guy's blood. And you've got some that are trying to escape, some that have just accepted the fact, some that are diving deeper into the fact. And it's kind of creepy, but again, it's vampires, so I feel like okay. But the one thing about this book, other than the fact that my gorgeous demonic, I don't know, spiritual husband, I don't know, until I'm proven wrong, that's what I'm going to call him.
Yeah.
Other than his lack of appearance, is the main character. We're just going to call her Luna because that's her nickname, I guess. She is really, really dumb.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this from like almost, I mean, yeah, storyteller perspective, but as like a movie or like a show, she is just every dumb horror like heroine that I have ever seen, and I'm just like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you digging deeper into it, and why are you like, it feels like she has no dialogue. It feels like she never questions anything. She never interacts with other characters. So I'm
very like ditzy like, and just kind of and I feel like recently there's been this like reclamation of bimbos, like just being a bimbo for bimbo's sake. And so I appreciate it a little bit, but at the same time, like if this was a horror movie, I'd be screaming and I'd be like, don't go up
exactly.
the stairs, like don't like so I really hope that we get to see a really interesting maybe character arc where she like learns common sense. That's what it feels like, is that she just doesn't have common sense, I
She's
guess.
got the power of common sense and the magic of common sense instead of the
Yeah.
power of friendship.
I do really feel like this book is going somewhere, so I want to continue picking it up. One, like the covers are absolutely
Oh,
beautiful.
100%.
I was told, and I didn't even realize this, but the person on the front, spiritual boyfriend,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
apparently,
like that term.
yeah, well, I mean, you just came up with it, like the spiritual boyfriend, like it so anyways, he reminded my partner, who knows that I'm in love with Peter Steele from Typo Negative, and apparently he looks like him. And
Oh.
I have a huge thing for Peter Steele's huge thing. Rest in peace. But anyway, so he looks like Peter Steele, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I mean, Peter Steele-ish, but yeah. I'm
Makes
excited
sense.
to finally learn more about this character. And you're right,
I
like I think he
need
showed up in like one panel.
I need more.
Hmm.
I will say, final thoughts on Luna. I'm just slightly disappointed because I was so excited that first issue. While there wasn't like a lot compared to a lot of first issues, it was enough to drag me in and want me to learn more. And yes, maybe it was because of the splash of spiritual boyfriend, but this issue felt like a huge letdown. And if I'm being quite honest with you, if this was more than just 4 issues, I would probably drop it from my pull list.
Hmm.
But because it is only 4 issues, because it is probably going to be cheaper to buy it as single issues than it is through the trade, I'm going to continue with it.
Yeah, I forgot that it was Boom publishing it and not Image, because I'm like, oh no, it'll be like $9.99. But I guess with Boom, I feel like and Dark Horse, what they've been doing recently is doing like 4 issue like trades and then charging $20 for it, which just seems like a lot. But
Ridiculous.
so we'll see. Maybe this one will be like $17. I don't know.
Still too much, I think. I think
Yeah,
something like that should be like an even 14 or 15
yeah.
and call it a day.
I agree. Now, I don't know if you have watched the movie Mandy with Nicolas Cage.
I apparently am not allowed to because I have a very weak stomach when it comes to horror and comes to body horror and things like that. And
Hmm.
I was told that I would faint or pass out. I was just told that it was not for me and I should not watch it, but I might have to because it just seems so interesting.
I think that if you Mandy is very intense. Like there's lots of moments that there's this like big like music. I really loved it. And Nicolas Cage, like I was always one of those people that was like Nicolas Cage, like gonna go steal the Declaration of Independence. But after watching Mandy, like I am a stan for Nicolas Cage now. So I would 100% recommend if you kind of like the vibes of this book, then you would like Mandy. And if you liked Mandy, you might also like the vibes of this book too.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and say a hello to a couple other people. I don't know if I got a chance to say hello to Chris, and then good morning to Flash by Night, and then Comic Burrito. Let's see here. So, Jay agrees. Honestly, the number of new books dropping has really solidified my trade waiting, with the exception of favorite creators and covers. Yeah. I think if you have like an end goal with your single issues, sometimes that makes it a little bit easier. So if you're like, oh, I'll just go ahead and sell my single issues and then buy the trade, like that can balance itself out, but then you've got to do the work of selling. And
yeah.
Let's see here. Mandy was a very well-made movie. I agree. And then Resident Evil's got a ton of gore.
Okay, hear me out.
Beefcake.
Hear me out. The beefcake helps level it out, so that's number one. Number two is I say that I don't do well with gore, but for whatever reason, I can watch a zombie movie and I'm okay with it. And I think it's because when I was a teenager, we would make our own films and like we spent a lot of time watching how these zombie movies were made. So like I can go into it with knowing, oh, well, it's just rubber and fake blood and stuff like that. But I guess I don't know. That's just the way that my dumb baby brain works. I can do zombies, but I can't do anything else.
You know, I feel like I can do zombies, I can do ghost, I can do slasher films. Like none of those I have a problem with the exception of aliens. Like I cannot watch an alien movie, and like that's what truly scares me. And it's because like one, I do think that aliens are probably real, and I also like book or stories that like go into other dimensions kind of like freak me out a little bit too, because I don't know, it gives me like an existential crisis, I guess. So the real horror is the life we're living.
Facts. The life we're living.
The life we are living
scares the shit right out of me.
100%. One of the any final thoughts on Luna, because I'll bring up this other book that I really enjoyed.
No, I think that's it for Luna. I want more. Give me more Beef Man.
Yeah, Beef Man, spiritual boyfriend. One of my favorite reads this week had to be Proctor Valley Road. I really enjoyed this. It felt like it did not feel like Grant Morrison. Which I love their writing. I think that they are such a like well-diverse writer, and to see this, and like granted I know that there's apparently a like ghostwriter on, not a ghostwriter, a co-writer.
There's a second writer.
There's a second writer on Proctor Valley Road. But I feel like this was that like blend of scary, spooky, but like wholesome.
Two very different covers here, which I love.
And then even like, so there's this one, and then even this other variant cover too, that has this like weird monster on it. And I think
it almost looks like a Minotaur.
It does, and I think that this I feel like it's Chris Ward, but I can't tell. But anyways, I really enjoyed this book, and I really loved that it was this like weird sci-fi, but it ends up being like all of those urban legends, like go down to this road and weird stuff happens, like go to this road and wait till midnight. And so I really appreciated that they were these group of friends are trying to get to a Janis Joplin concert.
I love that.
Yeah. And I feel like when it comes to that like 70s nostalgia, I think that Fleetwood Mac gets a lot of like that.
That's the nostalgia band.
Yeah. And so I'm really glad that Janis Joplin is getting a little bit of love. So I thought this was cute, which is not how I ever thought that I would describe a Grant Morrison book ever. But it's still spooky, but it's still cute. So
Exactly. And I didn't even know that this was Grant Morrison. I picked this book up and started reading it, and then I saw their name on the cover, and I'm like, what? I was like, there's no way that I'm actually enjoying a Grant Morrison book right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I stated on Friday, I strongly dislike Grant Morrison and their writing. I feel like they get along or get by using big fancy terms
Yeah.
and kind of using those terms to kind of distract you from the lack of plot, for lack of a better word. That being said, I know you really like Grant Morrison, and that's okay. That's
I
why
do.
comics are great, because we can like different writers and have different opinions. But the fact that I enjoyed this as much as I did,
Yeah.
it feels like, and I hate using this term because we compare everything to it. It feels like another fun Strange Adventures type story where it's a group of kids kind of discovering this mystery, but we're getting these supernatural urban legend type elements into it.
Mm-hmm.
I personally want to go and do a little bit more research on Proctor Valley Road because I think it's a real place.
Oh, that
Um,
that would kind of make sense, right?
I'm pretty sure it's a real place in the US, so I just want to, I might be spoiling myself in the process, but I really liked the characters in this. I loved all of the little character interactions between characters. It made me hella nostalgic for a time period that I would never, exist in or be nostalgic for. And it was just really fun, and the coloring was cute, and it was a fun, good time. I don't think I'll pick it up by single issues, but when the trade hits, I'll definitely pick it up.
Jay has a question about Grant Morrison's pronouns. So Grant Morrison does use they them pronouns. They came out as non-binary, I think late last year, maybe like November, December, they came
Hmm.
out as non-binary. Maybe it was earlier
I
this
think it
year.
was earlier than that. I think
Okay.
it was right like around like April, actually.
Hmm. So yes, Grant Morrison does use they them pronouns. I um just want to go ahead and say we're going to use correct pronouns here, and um, you
100%.
know, 100%. And I want to say that if you're finding yourself like having trouble using proper pronouns, especially if it doesn't feel right grammatically, or if you are used to someone being a certain pronoun and they correct you that there's a different pronoun, I find myself, if I'm having trouble saying they, I usually try to use the person's name.
Hmm.
So instead of being like Vita
Rita Ayala, I
Ayala,
got you.
Vita Ayala is a great writer. I really enjoy their work. If I find that I'm stumbling on the word they, just try to use their name more often. So if you're struggling with pronouns, there's a way around it. So
Because
um,
it can be very hard, especially because I feel like the they them recently we started using that within the past 5 or so years, and I
mhm,
remember the first time I had a friend, tell me that they changed pronouns.
mhm,
I struggled. I'm not gonna lie, I
yeah,
struggled, especially with using something like they them, which isn't
mhm,
something that we typically use, but it's practice. It really is. It's a matter of practice and respect. So it is very, very important
yep,
to respect those around you, those you care about, those you admire, and even if it's just a stranger, it's all about respect. So
yep, 100%. And it's important. So if you have trouble with pronouns, your pronouns are going to be was, were, because I'm coming for you. Um, and Chris makes a good point too. They them is grammatically correct 100%. When people are like, well, I'm having issues like because I was like taught grammar. I'm like, I from someone who like appreciates great grammar, you know, it doesn't like it is 100% correct.
Mhm.
And hello, I do want to say hello to Sanimation because she's an absolute cutie. I think that Sanimation is going to be joining, or we're going to be doing a show next Sunday over on Comic Book G Spot, I think. So excited for that.
Very
Um,
exciting.
on to the next book. Do you want to pick one or?
Can we just talk about it? Because
Yeah,
I'm waiting to talk about it. I want
yeah.
to talk about Wonder Woman.
Here's
Oh,
I didn't pick it up, so for whatever reason, I didn't pick it up, so here's my fake copy
here's your
that I
fake
got
copy.
digitally.
You did get a chance to read it though?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So I can go all in with this one.
yeah.
So this is Wonder Woman 770. This is the first issue after DC Future State. So we're jumping into Infinite Frontier.
Mhm.
And this is a totally new direction for Diana and Wonder Woman. And I am obsessed, to put it, to lack of a better word. I am obsessed. So we are kind of not stripping Diana of her Greek roots, but we're kind of picking her up and dropping her right into Norse mythology and dropping her straight into Asgard. And I will be honest, I was a little skeptical because Wonder Woman books beforehand are hard to get into, especially the ongoings.
Yeah.
They
And
can
this is
become
770, so it's not like it's a
exactly,
number one issue. Like you're literally just, but what
but
I
it feels
would,
like a number one.
it does, because like you can know who Wonder Woman is and then just drop right into this. And I would definitely say if you enjoyed Wonder Woman Dead Earth, I feel like you would enjoy this.
Yes, 100%.
Because you literally just get dropped in with Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman Dead Earth, and it's like, oh, okay, this makes
Exactly.
sense. So that's how I felt about this one. Even though it's number 770, it feels like a number one issue.
And so this is done by Becky Cloonan, so female writer. Yay. Very excited about that. But it drops Diana straight into Asgard. And I was worried because I was like, oh, are we trying to do a ripoff of Thor? And it's not that. It is a fun ass new adventure for Diana. Diana kind of doesn't know what's going on. And I feel like as a reader, we're in the same shoes. So we're kind of exploring this new journey with her. The art by Will Conrad is absolutely stunning and perfect. And can I just take a minute? Because we now have the most gorgeous man I have ever seen in comics. And I am kind of in love with this guy. This book reminds me a lot of Gail Simone's Red Sonja. I don't know why, but it gives me hella Gail Simone Red Sonja vibes. It's a lot of fun. It's pure. It's the first time that I've ever been excited about a Wonder Woman ongoing. And I'm going to be continuing it and reading the rest of it. But if you want to get into Wonder Woman, if you just want to have a fun time, you want to go on an adventure, you want to have some Viking fun, I definitely recommend picking up this book. There's also a really, really cute backup story, also by Becky Cloonan, with art by Paulina Ganesho. I can never pronounce her name, but I love her art. But it explores a young baby Diana, and anytime that we get to see Jumpa,
I'm gonna full screen you.
Anytime we get to see Jumpa, I get very, very excited. So I feel like this is the perfect artwork for a young baby Diana. But this whole book is just incredible. I cannot say, like, I've been screaming about this book since I read it on Wednesday. Because it's just that great. It's that fun. And I'm kind of thankful that this is a bi-weekly book, because I don't think I could wait a whole month for another issue.
100%. And I like that, because there were a lot of stories in Future State that I did enjoy, and the Wonder Woman stories were ones that I enjoyed, but it just felt in the same kind of way where you just get dropped into the universe of like Future State, or wherever she ends up being. You just get dropped in. There's one issue, there's a second issue, and then that's it. So I'm really glad that we're getting like an ongoing, it's still ongoing with her. I thought it was really fun because you're right, in the same way that you're figuring out things with Diana with what's going on, like you're there with her, and it felt like Groundhog Day, because basically Diana is basically, and she doesn't know she's Wonder Woman. She refers to herself as Diana, and so she just gets dropped in, and she wakes up and she's just like fighting a whole bunch of people. So she's like just kind of tearing through, and then she dies, but then she wakes up in Valhalla, and just like kind of like hanging out and partying. And then she kind of like wakes up the next morning in this character, I forget his name, but she like,
I can't think of it.
Spoiler alert, she wakes up in his bed, but he was
But they don't even do anything.
Yes.
He's so respectful. I was like, all right, goodbye, Steve Trevor. Your boring, bland, blonde ass has been a plot device since the 40s. Time for you to go.
Yeah.
And then they faked us out, and I'm like, but at the same time, these two characters, you can already tell with the first issue, have such a love and admiration and respect for each other. And that is my favorite kind of relationship, platonic or otherwise. And I'm just like, I'm so sad, because I know that he's not going to be a long lasting part of the Wonder Woman universe. It's you can tell it's very, for this arc. And I want him to stay around forever.
I have my theory, And I actually don't think that he's a good guy. I think that he's a
Stop!
villain.
Don't do this.
I'm sorry. So that's my guess. I'm not saying that I don't like the character, but I do think that I think that they're going to give him a character arc where he's the reason why like she's stuck there.
What if it's the Psycho Pirate or Dr. Psycho? Oh no.
Um,
Because, I mean, if you think about it, Dr. Psycho, we saw put Diana into a weird, fueled, dream-induced
mhm.
state with sensational Wonder Woman and literally putting her through her nightmare of a 1950s housewife. Oh, no! I hate this so much
I'm so
now.
sorry. You know, like, 'cause I was reading it and I'm, I was just like, I feel like I'm getting a feeling that he
He's
is
too
not,
perfect.
that he's too perfect. He's not the good guy. And it gave me um, the Greek pantheon vibes of Persephone and how she ends up getting trapped in the underworld. So I feel like because she just gets dropped into like Norse Asgard Valhalla, and like she literally wakes up and she's eating the food, and that's how you get stuck down there, is that you end up eating the food. So that's my theory. I'm sorry if I just ruined the book
She
for
ruined
you
my
or for
whole
anyone
life.
else. Um, but I'm not sure if he's, I think he's going to end up being the villain, and I'm sorry.
I've never been. This just proves that I can't have relationships with men or anybody because I always fall for. It happens all the time. I always fall for the bad guy. What? It's like Charlie's Angels. Drew Barrymore's character always falls in love with the
Yeah,
villain. That's me. That is literally me. 100%. Is I'm always falling in love with the bad character, and I'm like, drats.
I'm so sorry. But we'll see. I could be totally wrong because I'm not saying that I'm wrong about crossover. I'm just saying that I haven't been proved right about crossover. And I'm coming to terms with it because we have like one issue left, and so whatever. It is what it is.
Is
But
what it is.
you know, that's comics, baby.
It's comics.
Um, one of the any other thoughts?
Just that if you are thinking about picking up this book, if you have any sort of hesitation on picking up this book, don't pick it up. You're going to have a fun time, new reader or otherwise. It's one of the best Wonder Woman books that I've ever read. Oh no, Jay's comment. Don't compare me to Harley. Listen, I know better than Harley. Okay? And we'll talk more about her later, but I know better. Listen, don't do this to me.
I want to talk about a book now that I was really excited about, and I feel like there were parts that I enjoyed, and I think that like my excitement overwhelmed, and like I don't know, I wanted more from this book, and oh, you know what I'm going to talk about.
So this is how it's going to work. You're going to elevate me and have me on this really, really rad high with Wonder Woman. And then I got to go to this low
Sorry.
with Carmen because
Yeah.
I agree. And if anybody watched the show on Friday with Hero and the Kid that I was a wonderful part of, I was like the only person aside from Will that did not like this book. And it was very awkward. And I feel like I had to contain my feelings. But guess what? We're on the Sunday show now, baby.
Yeah.
Time to rip this book apart.
I do really quick before it gets like completely ripped apart. I thought that the story was like interesting. I like the main character, but the way basically the story is that this is like an angel of death, and there's one particular death that happens, and um I don't know. She
It's a rough ride.
It is, and like it's a beautiful book. Um I really wanted to like it. The character design was cute. She reminded me of Death a little bit, which is one of my favorite one of my favorite characters ever, and from one of my favorite comics, Sandman. But like basically, what happens is there's a young woman who is like being cheated on by like her boyfriend is cheating on her, and she kills herself, and or she dies by suicide rather, and this angel of death, Carmen, ends up having to like guide her through the afterlife.
Yeah. So can we talk about that? Because I was actually very confused because in the beginning of the book, the character has black hair. And then after post her death, when she's gallivanting around with Carmen, she has normal hair. Or I mean, she's got pink hair. So I don't know if maybe that's an effect of death, but I was very confused and actually had to do a triple take that they were the same characters.
Yeah. Yep.
So to kind of preface this, this is a book done by Guillaume March, who is a Spanish illustrator, and I love Guillaume March. I have a very, very soft spot in my heart for him because he did the art on the New 52 Catwoman, which was like the first ever ongoing series that I collected. So I have a very soft spot for his artwork in particular. He's also doing work on the current Joker run. He does occasional work on Batman right now in between Phil Jimenez's art. And I think he's doing a couple other things as well. He's huge when it comes to DC Comics. And he's done a couple of stories himself. More recently, he did Monica, which was a Spanish story only, and then it got translated over into English and brought over to the States. And that is what happened with Carmen. But this was a very good premise. I like the idea of a kind of cutesy, unconventional angel of death who's kind of quirky and kind of ditzy, guiding characters from life to death. And at first I thought this was going to be an anthology story. But after the death happens and Carmen appears to kind of ferry her between life and death, it starts to get really, really uncomfortable because our character is naked the entire time. And I understand that she's naked because the suicide, which is a very heavy topic to deal on. The suicide happened in a bathtub. The character is naked the entire time. And I'm not trying to pretend I'm a prude because I ain't. But when the character of the book is constantly reminding us that she feels uncomfortable, that all she wants is clothes. She doesn't want to go outside because she's worried that people will see her, even though people won't see her, and she's constantly saying, I don't want to be naked. Starts to make me, because that's the first thought that went through my head is, why does this character have to be naked? And I'm like, okay, well, I can kind of just push that from my mind. It's a Spanish illustrator. It's kind of weird. But when the character is uncomfortable, that makes me as a reader and maybe as a woman, I'm going to play that card, makes me very, very uncomfortable. And it makes me wish that this book was not written by a man. I like the concept. I think the art is gorgeous. I wish that it had been done better.
And 100% I agree, and 100% not prudish. Like, if you've watched this channel before, like, that some of my favorite like stories are literally like smut. Like, I'm not talking about like,
we're talking Smut Peddler 3000.
Smut Peddler 3000, like 100%. Like, have no problem with it, but it feels a lot like fan service in anime, which is one of the reasons why I don't love a lot of anime, because the entire plot, like, oh my goodness, I can't think of the anime where they're like on a beach and clothes are evil.
Did not know that existed, but it would not surprise me.
I have a friend who might be listening. What's the anime where the clothes are evil? Is that Kill la Kill? Kill la Kill. So Kill la Kill is basically
phone
like
a friend. This was like who wants to be a millionaire? I'm gonna phone a friend.
Exactly. So let's hear more about that smut, Jen. I will 100% talk about smut all day, every day. But like this book wasn't it for me. And so anyways, back to this anime, Kill la Kill. Like, I guess I haven't really watched it, but the character designs, it's the entire story is basically like clothes are evil, and the characters are basically in zero clothes, men and women, which whatever, but
at least it's equal.
At least it's equal, but at the same time, it's like, I think that when the entire plot is to get characters naked, and it's like, make it sex, you cowards. Like, kind of like don't just like give me a naked person. Like, I don't know. So, and the fact that it's a woman who dies by suicide in the first couple of pages, and I feel like the writer specifically wrote the plot, so it's like she's it feels like she's being gaslit by her boyfriend because her boyfriend is like sitting at lunch with this girl, and he's like, well, I don't want to lie to her that I'm sitting here with you, and that just feels like incredibly creepy, and like monogamies may not be real, but honesty is. And so anyways, I just feel like it put the plot device as her dying by suicide because she's just a whiny girl, and I feel like I didn't enjoy that. I loved, like, seriously, the first couple of pages of reading this, I'm like, oh, I love this. This is so good. And then, like, 75% of the rest of the book is just this character who dies by suicide flying in around because, and they're naked. It just didn't feel right. So I'm sorry. I really, really, really wanted to like this
I
one.
wanted to like it, but it is pretty. It's gorgeous. The coloring's gorgeous. I love how pink it is. I know that's something silly to comment on a book. I love how pink it is. I love the character design of Carmen herself. I think that her is this pink little fairy. Like, listen, if I die, this is who I want taking me to either heaven or hell, wherever I belong.
Yeah.
But I might read it when it comes to trade, when it's collected. But I'm really disappointed, and I know it's a lot of people that are pulling the card of either A, I don't understand it because I'm a woman and I'm being too sensitive about it, or B, I don't understand it because I'm an American and I need to read it from a European comic perspective, in which case I say, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I should be able to understand a comic if I can read comics translated from, Japanese or German or, Russian. Then there shouldn't be an issue. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I am probably not going to pick the rest of the issues. I really don't know yet if I'm going to be picking up the rest of this. I do believe that it's a limited series, but
I might pick them up in the dollar bin because the main covers are really, really gorgeous. I really like how stylistic they are. Each one, it seems to be a solid colored background with just an image of Carmen, and I think that's really, really beautiful and effective. So, like, if I find them in the dollar bin, years down the road, I'll probably pick them up. But I don't want to go spending $4 on an issue.
Yeah, 100%. I do really quick. I want to say hi to John. If you're still here and you're still listening. I ended up sending you a box, and I'm pretty sure that I forgot to put my name on it and that it was for me. So if you get a random ass box in the mail, that was for me. Anyways, I was really excited about Carmen. Like A for plot, C- for execution. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Here's the thing. If it was a difference of opinion on nudity, like European versus American, then why would the character express nudity shame? 100%. And that's what made it feel uncomfortable.
Thank you for coming through with the proof, Jay.
Yep.
I appreciate you so much.
Bringing them receipts. What was another book that you got this week?
So I only have 2 left.
Okay.
Both of which are ongoing series. So I guess I'll talk about this one because this is the one that I like more, I guess. And that's the Autumnal number 5. This book continues to just be absolutely amazing. I'm starting to kind of lose it a little bit on this one, but I feel like that's what kind of happens with this book, is I go up and I go down with it. So last issue, we got to see a little bit more background. We kind of got that storytelling, like fairy tale storytelling, urban mythos, that I absolutely adored, and that you did miss it, Greg. Greg, you literally just walked in on it. Greg,
you showed up maybe 30 seconds late, my dude.
Greg.
Okay.
You're gonna have to watch it on the rewind. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. Autumnal. I really like this book. This book needs to get adapted already because it reads as a perfect Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, whatever adaptation. It's so fucking good and so perfect, and one of my favorite things Walt has been publishing. If you're not on this now, I don't want to say it's a little too late, but we are on issue 5, so you might want to trade weight it. But oh man, this book is weird and crazy, and I love her little boyfriend, but I feel like something bad's gonna happen to the boyfriend, and I'm so sad. Not to mention they did the diddly do on a pile of leaves, which we have already deemed as like this demonic type spirit. So I'm like, oh, you just gone and pissed off something even more so than you already were.
Yeah, like you were cursed, but now you're like
You're double cursed. So that scene was both very engaging and very weird for me because I'm like, because like you see, like on the one page, he comes in and he kisses her, and I'm like, oh, this is so cute. He cares about her so much. Like, I love them. And then the next page is like, boom, having sex on the demon leaves, and I'm like,
yes, like,
oh,
do you want demons? Because this is how we get demons.
This is how we get demons.
Literally, like spilling seed on the demon leaves. That's what this felt like. That moment. It was a little bit weird. Because she has been talking to her childhood friend Carol, who is a drug addict trying to like come into recovery, and basically her friend like walks away from her. Her friend who's like trying to come into recovery and is like dealing with this, I've been locked up, I've been dealing with the shame of being a burn victim and all of this for years, and basically I'm getting clean, and I'm gonna go out into the world and everyone's gonna see my fucking face whether they like it or not. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go in and have like breakfast with the mayor, and so that was kind of
scene was a little weird. I was like, I thought I had missed something. I'm like, why is she having breakfast with the mayor, and why is the mayor being a weirdo? I mean, we know why he's being a weirdo because this is a demon town, but at the same time, I'm like, we kind of get to see the pieces of why her mother kind of pushed her to move away from Comfort Notch, and that kind of makes sense. And now that we're talking about demon seed on leaves, is she going to get pregnant? Is it going to be the new baby? Kind of like the previous.
Yeah,
what if he's the son of the mayor? Oh. No, I can't be betrayed. I can't be betrayed by two sweet boys in 1 week. I can't do it.
I do. So I'm about to say a spoiler for this. So like maybe mute for just a second if you want to watch this. The naughty scene on the demon leaves. So because part of this book is that she was apparently a chosen one. So in the latter half of this book is that she ends up going and seeing one of her mom's friends or her mom's sister.
I think it's her mom's friend.
Her mom's friend who's basically having dealing with dementia. So she's remembering, oh my goodness, I can't think of the character's name. The main character. Cat. Yes. What is it?
Cat.
Okay. So Cat. And so her mom's friend keeps thinking that she's Cat's mom and like remembering things. And she was like, you sent your daughter away because she was the chosen one. And so like, do you think that if she does end up having a kid that she's gonna like, well, she already has a kid, so
and they did kind of hint that she might be chosen next, but it's like what happens when because that's how the issue ends, is like, what happens now that I've come back? What happens since I was the chosen one and I left, and then all this bad stuff happened? What happens now that I've returned and I'm an adult? Am I still that chosen one? But
do I get more powers? Did I level up? Like, did I beat the game? Or do you go straight to the final boss? Like,
I don't know.
Find out next month.
This book this is the one book that I can say I read every month where I'm like, I'm creeped out. I get the heebie-jeebies in like the best way, because it's like we keep uncovering more secrets, and that's I think why I think this would make such a great adaptation, and why I'm so surprised that it hasn't been picked up yet, because it basically writes itself. It really does. But in the and I can see this as like the new thing where all the normies, I guess, all the non-comic or non-geek people are reading. They're like, oh, did you watch the Autumnal this weekend? Like, it could be the next big thing, y'all. I'm just saying.
Especially, I think the success that Netflix had with Lock and Key. I liked the show better than the movie. I liked the show better than I liked the comic book, but I feel like people who really love the comic book didn't like the show. But anyways, I do feel like the mood that the show set would be like a perfect, like almost world to bring this into. So
yeah, 100%.
What's next on? Well,
what do you have? Because I think you have other stuff. Because I only have one left that we both read.
Okay. This one so issue number 2 of Maniac of New York. I really, really enjoyed issue 1, and I think a big part of that was because I was so surprised at how much better it was than I thought it was going to be. And issue 2 was still pretty good. We're going into the world of this Maniac of New York. He basically, at the end of the first issue, we find out that he's where it's like doing this world building and like building this mythos around this like character who almost feels supernatural because they have like a fucking holiday set up for him. And well, anyways, he ends up on a train about to kill a whole bunch of people. So he just goes straight slasher through the whole train. But then there's people who are trying to survive. So it was pretty good. But I do want to get to the next issue because I think issue 3 is going to be better than this one. So
I think I liked the first issue. That's one that I'm definitely going to trade read, though. It does make me excited for it.
So I would say, like, if I had to rate it out of 5, I would probably give it like a 3.5.
That's fair.
All right. What is next on your list?
The only thing I have left is I finally caught up with Homesick Pilots. So Homesick Pilots number 4. Last month when we were talking about this book, I did not read number 3, but I finally sat down and I actually reread 2, 3, and 4 because for some reason 1 stuck in my head, but not the other issues. I continuously do not know how to feel about this book. I will premise it as this is the most gorgeous book I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I think it's the artwork alone that makes me want to keep reading it and that keeps it on my pull list. And I think that's what it was with issue 1 too, where I was like, this art is so good that I have to keep going and see what's going on. But I feel like with number 4, I feel like it has become so tonally different because we now move away from sort of ghosts and supernatural mystery, and it kind of feels more superhero-esque, for lack of a better word, because we see one of the characters get into a ghost Iron Man suit, for lack of a better word. And then it kind of does nothing from there. I don't really know. I do like picking up, and maybe this goes more so off of issue 3. I like the idea of all of these ghosts and how creatively different they all get. I also, for some reason, I'm really, really attracted to the weird horseshoe demon man.
I think it's like this because he's in like a suit, right?
I don't know. Suit? I don't know what it is, but that is my shame that the weird demon horseshoe man is very, very attractive, and I don't know why. I don't know. I think we've only got one more issue on this arc or the book, maybe in particular. I just think that Dan Waters writes a little more. He writes too big for my baby goldfish brain.
You know, I feel that was the when it comes to Coffin Bound. Coffin Bound issue 1 was absolutely fantastic. Or sorry, volume 1 was really, really good. It was a really weird, wacky ride, and I feel like it needed multiple reads. The second arc of Coffin Bound was so fucking confusing, but it had a really good payoff. So even though there are so many moments where I am like super confused as to what's going on, I still really enjoy it. So I'm still going to pick up the single issues, and I'll definitely pick up the trade and read. I think there's also a request in here for you to talk about Wonder Woman again.
Okay, let me give Wonder Woman in 30 seconds, even though I just kind of threw it in there for her. So 30 seconds. Here we go. Viking Wonder Woman is the best thing to ever exist in DC Comics. Probably my favorite like Wonder Woman thing to ever happen. It's the first time I'm really, really excited about a Wonder Woman ongoing. The art from Will Conrad is absolutely gorgeous. I really, really like the new character Siegfried. He's really, really hot and really, really attractive. However, Jen has broken my heart because she revealed that he may or may not be the bad guy of the whole story.
That's my theory.
That's her theory. And now I'm thinking that maybe it is Dr. Psycho. And I swear to God, if it is that little piece of shit masquerading as this very attractive man, I will be very upset with myself for being as attracted to him and Wonder Woman as I am. I mean, I'm always going to be attracted to Wonder Woman, but it's just really good. And I really like it. And I feel like everybody should be reading this book right now, whether you like Wonder Woman or not, because it's a good time. It's fun. And it makes me excited for the future of Wonder Woman.
And I do have to say, like, as a quick addendum to that, it's issue number 770, but I feel like it's easily like an issue number 1 because you literally get dropped into this world. So don't feel like you have to go and read all of Wonder Woman. I certainly didn't. But I also do feel like I think that it's going to flip this. I think my theory is that yes, I think that he's the bad guy or he's a villain, or maybe they'll give a like um oh, surprise, he's a villain. Oh, wait, but he had good intentions and he had to do this bad thing, but he's actually a good guy. So I think that we'll see like that arc. And I do think that my theory is that she's in like Valhalla right now, but basically doing like a Groundhog Day. Like every day she just kind of like wakes up and starts just like
Every
fucking like
day I
slashing
wake
people.
up.
Every
That meme.
every day I wake up and choose violence is basically the Wonder Woman right
The
now.
Wonder Woman motto.
So it's pretty interesting and I'm enjoying it.
It's
Good morning to Sleepy Reader. Thank you for being here. So
But yeah, so Homesick Pilots, real quick, just addendum on that before we move on. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but I do know that the trade was just recently solicited for, I think it's May. And it's only going to be $9.99. So I think if you want to treat yourself to some really gorgeous artwork, some really punky vibes, I think you'll enjoy it. Just prepare for a little bit of confusion.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun confusion. So, and if it's only $10, then it's only $10.
Yeah. The artwork is beautiful.
So gorgeous.
And it is fun. So all right. Well, I will be very, very honest. Like I ended up picking up let's see here.
I think we should play a game from now on. Is how much dumb bitch money did Jen spend? And we should play it like The Price is Right, where like if you get close, but if you go over, then you're busted.
So funny story. I was in the comic book store as one does on Wednesday, and oh my goodness, I can't think of his actual name. And if you're watching right now, I deeply apologize, but he goes by Little Lost Robot on Instagram. Because that's how we know each other. We know each other by our Instagram names.
I mean, you're in my phone as Comic Books Will Break Your Heart. Like, let's be honest. You're in there as Jen, and then in parentheses, Comic Books Will Break Your Heart.
Beautiful. I love that so much. Little Lost Robot, it's not oh my goodness, I can't remember, but anyways, I was checking out and Josue was in the shop, and oh my goodness, Marvel by the Month, I can't remember his name either. Oh my god, I'm blanking, I'm so sorry. But anyways, like a whole bunch of other people who also do like YouTube and podcast and things were in the shop at the same time, and it was just beautiful. It was beautiful. And anyways, he comes up and he like he's just like waiting, and I think Katie was like, oh, like, do you need something? And he's like, I'm actually just waiting to I see how much she picks up all the time, and I really want to know what her damage is. And I'm just like, call the fuck out. So that was really fun. If I don't necessarily want to be known for how much I spend on comics, like maybe how much I read, because I do try to read as much as I spend. But so anyways, I thought that was a really cute moment. And yeah. So all of the books from like here down I read. The ones from here up I haven't read yet. So hopefully I'll get a chance to read this stack by Wednesday, and I'll be able to keep up. So I'll go ahead and go into some of these books. Did you read this one though? This one you may have gotten a pre-copy of.
I have, but I don't. It's been so long that I don't remember most of it. Is that sad to say?
No.
So I read so much now that I'm like, and my shop unfortunately did not get that along with my final issue of Stargazer, which I'm very upset about because you guys know that I've been championing this book since the beginning. I have had it on pre-order since before the book came out, or on my pull list rather, and the shop forgot my last issue, and I literally messaged them at 12 at night, was like, look, what is going on? I am the champion of this book. I have to have all the issues. So my shop's going to get it. Hopefully, I think they're going to rush order it for me because it's not the first book that they've messed up on me, but this is definitely one of the most important ones. But Stargazer ended. So please be reading Stargazer because it's one of my favorite books to come out in the past year.
It's one of the books that I didn't read because I know you didn't get a copy of it. So I'm like, I'm not going to read it if we're not going to talk about it on the show. So I haven't read it yet. So maybe we'll talk about it next week and do like a little thing.
A little blurb about it.
I did get this. Your shop also did not get this, but you said that you ordered it.
I ordered it. So I ordered it a week in advance before it came out. So it's my fault that it's not here on time because Marvel likes to not put their cover images and previews before FOC. And I'm sorry. If you want me, and maybe it's not they want me, but if shops want me to pre-order a book, which I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to help support you. I'm not going to buy a cover blind. I need to know what the cover looks like before I buy it. And I just wish that, and it's usually Marvel that does this. Marvel is definitely the worst offender when it comes to not updating their variants with what they look like until after FOC has passed. So I will be getting that book. It will be going with the rest of my Leia Shrine books because I do have a whole section in my cabinet just for Leia cover appearances and books. But thank you for thinking of me.
You're so welcome. I saw that it was coming out and I'm like, if she did not get this, so anyways, I'm like, I'm just going to buy 2 copies. So just really quick to go over Nottingham. It's basically like, not Sherlock. Is it Sherlock? Sorry. Robin Hood Detective Agency is basically what it feels like. There's a murder in, whatever you call it. And Sherwood Forest, wherever the hell they are. But it feels very anachronistic. I really want this to be...
a big word. Wait, what does that even mean? My dumb baby brain doesn't work that way.
It feels like what they're doing is they're doing like modern people in medieval times. So for me, like my conspiracy theory brain is like, are they doing a Westworld in Nottingham where you basically you're a modern person who gets thrown into medieval times and you have to play Robin Hood and solve a murder mystery.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to describe it. That is what I remember of it. Mad Cave continues to put out hit after hit.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, for some reason I'm like, wait, no, it's Aftershock. Yes, it is. This felt like it wasn't Mad Cave because I feel like I haven't seen a story like this from them before. I can't remember Volk, who does the artwork. I think that it was mentioned on the Hero and the Kid show, but it does remind me of Dan Mora's art on Once in Future. So.
And they did win the Mad Cave talent contest that they did last year. So I think that it's their first published work. Also, Josue has entered the chat, and we were just talking about Josue.
Hello. So was listening and playing online. That part at Books with Pictures was so funny. Yeah, so I basically got called the fuck out on how much money that I spend. But yeah.
It's my favorite.
So thank you for being we ended up running into each other twice that day, so that was kind of cool. Some of the other books that I got, I'll just go ahead and go through these really quickly. I read Vampire the Masquerade #6. It just wrapped up the first arc, the first 5 issues. I still feel like there's moments where I'm confused, and 100% I blame that on never playing Vampire the Masquerade.
That's the only reason why I never picked it up, because I never played the game, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna feel lost.
I still feel like it was enjoyable, but at the same time, so I get what's going on, and it's written by Tim Seeley, does one of the stories, and the Howards do the other story, but it definitely felt like it almost reminds me of like classic, like late 80s, early 90s comics, and I do not say this lightly, but in a Sandman, Neil Gaiman type way with writing, where I feel like it's really steeped in lore. It's really steeped in legend because to me that's what Sandman is. It's just a lot of like modern mythology. And I think that Neil Gaiman does that really well. So, and especially these covers, like they remind me of the Sandman covers
They
by Dave
do. I was
McKean.
gonna say they look very Sandman-esque, and yeah, 100%. It still amazes me that Volt was able to get their hands on the IP to Vampire the Masquerade to do comics. I think that's just really awesome.
Mm-hmm. And each one of the issues has like a like role playing guide in the back, either a scenario or a character breakdown. And so anyways, each one of those is pretty interesting. They did just wrap up the first 5 volumes in a trade, and I was thinking, I'm like, oh, I hope that they do like a guide to how to play the book, but I haven't picked it up. So yeah. Some of the other books that I got, let's see here. Last Witch #3 came out. This one gets really, really heavy. I was kind of in the middle of the road with this book when I read the first one, but in the way that the first one felt very tropey and reminded me a lot of Brave. Last Witch #3 just goes insane with her like battling other witches, and I felt like this was really, really fun. I think that this is going to be a really popular trade, and I know I haven't like read obviously the rest of the issues, but I have a feeling this is going to be on my holiday gift giving guide, because I think this is a really good one for maybe like preteens to read. So I think that Last Witch, when it comes out in trade, will definitely be on one of those like year-end wrap-up list of ones that I really enjoyed. 2 other ones by Aftershock. I won't get too much into them, but Scout's Honor just continues to be a really good book, and then so does Knock 'em Dead. Knock 'em Dead went to some really dark places because in this one it's I don't want to say struggling stand-up comedian, because he wasn't ever really successful until he died and then got possessed, and then he ends up getting possessed by a dead comedian, and they like do an exorcism, and then they like he comes back to life, and then they do the exorcism on him and rid him of this like comedian that was in his body, and then he ends up sucking again at stand-up comedy. So they're like, okay, can you just like come back inside me and haunt my body and just treat me like a stand-up comedy puppet? And so he does really, really good. Gets offered like to do a late night show, and the demon inside him basically is like, oh, like you're getting the like jitter, the pre-show jitters. Why don't you just go ahead and like crush up a pill and snort it? And then ends up going on a So this went wild. It went to some really dark places, and I think, you know, when we think about a lot of the great stand-up comedians from the 70s and 80s, a lot of them don't have, you know, very happy endings because of things like drug use. And I think that this is a love letter to those struggles, but something happens in the end that's kind of interesting. But
Knock 'em Dead is one of those books where I somehow missed the first issue, and I'm very upset about that. So at this point, I'm just waiting until the first or the trade comes out, and then I'll pick it up.
It was really good. There was like a reveal at the end of it, like a surprise twist at the end of it, and I think, man, this story, it was really good, very unexpected. But I should probably expect it from Aftershock because they do some really darn good stories. 2 of the other ones that I picked up this week these are the last 2 of the ones that I've read, but the last 2 are going to be Nonstop Spider-Man, which was nonstop.
I've heard nothing but bad things about it.
It was nonstop, but it was a hot mess. Like, there is so much going on. It was just like, I was confused. I had no clue what was going on. Spider-Man is very angry.
Ooh,
he's
no,
allowed
we
to
don't
be
like that.
He's allowed to be angry, but I'm so confused. Like, he's I don't know, I guess going through puberty still after all these years, and
He's an angry boy.
He's just an angry kid. So this was very confusing and very weird. I don't even know if this is like a one shot or an ongoing series, but I won't be picking up the next
I
one.
think it's an ongoing, and it's kind of a shame because, like I said, I've heard nothing but bad things about it, and this was a story that I think was solicited pre-pandemic, and then it got pushed the fuck back to almost a year later, and now everybody is just trashing it, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I really, really I did want to like it because like it just seems fun. Like when you think nonstop Spider-Man, I mean, not necessarily that you think about him stopping or expect him to stop, but this story didn't have any nuance, in my opinion. I need it to stop.
I needed to stop.
It is 100% as advertised. It was nonstop, but it feels like it didn't even start. So really wanted to like it, but there we go.
Oh no.
Last one on the list. And I'll go ahead and say goodbye to Fable. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a good one. And then okay, cool. So anyways, I also picked up Children of the Atom.
Because you're a Dawn of X hoe.
I'm an X-Men hoe. I'm just nonstop X-Men. Should be I felt kind of confused in this, and I didn't really know, like, because this is an issue number 1, and I really do appreciate Vita Ayala's writing, and I didn't love this one. I don't know if I'm going to pick up issue number 2. I do like the premise where it's like teenage superhero, and to me that's like almost, you know,
It's a story that's been done before, it sounds like.
It really it is, and it's these new, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe this one I had high expectations for, and maybe I'll just read it a second time and see if I like it more. I'll probably be picking up the next one, but we'll see on that. So that was my big old stack from this week, but we've got other books to talk about.
We've got other books, we've got other announcements, because DC and Marvel came for, I can't speak for yours, but came for my queer ass wallet. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm watching all the announcements pour in from DC, and I'm just like, oh no, I'm in danger.
I'm in danger.
I'm in danger. So if you haven't seen the news, or if you're new to the news or whatever, DC Comics announced that they are announcing a Queer Pride anthology, which is very, very exciting because I feel like it's something we desperately need. And we've been seeing a lot of stuff for DC and Marvel for different heritages. And I was like kind of hoping that we would get something for queerness. And I was like, they're never going to do that. They're the big two. They don't care about us. And then they dropped this anthology, and I was like, oh no, they actually care. I mean,
Magneto.
I was going to say it's Magneto, right?
It's Magneto. I love Magneto so much. Sorry to interrupt there, but I had to.
Good question though. It's Magneto.
Yeah, I had to think.
I love how we both simultaneously are just like, it's Magneto. And if we had Sid here, Sid would definitely scream, Magneto.
Magneto.
So DC Comics doing a queer anthology is really, really, really exciting. It kind of bums me out a little bit because we're seeing the same characters represented over and over. So we're getting Midnighter and Apollo. We are seeing Batwoman, Renee Montoya. We're also seeing it's one of the transgender characters that was featured on the Supergirl show. I believe that the actual writer is doing a story in it. But it just makes me excited to see.
Sorry, wrong one.
It makes me excited to see representation from a company that meant so much to me. We're getting Crush. And that's the other thing too, is we're also getting queer comic book covers. So we're seeing Wonder Woman and her queerness. We're seeing Yara Flor. We're seeing Harley Quinn and Ivy by Jen Bartel. Oh, that Yara, listen, DC Comics. You want to make me the happiest gay lady on the planet? Make her queer, okay? Make her bisexual. Where's my phone? Because I'm not kidding. They literally announced that cover, and within 10 seconds, it became my wallpaper. So I just stare at Yara Flor constantly now. the Superman, there's one where Superman is holding a gay pride flag, and Jen can attest to this because I blew up her messages when all this was going down.
It's true.
I did not think that seeing Superman holding a gay flag would make me as emotional as it did, but it did. It hit me like a pound of bricks, and I was like, here's this character that I've looked up to since before I even started getting into comics that cares about me, you know, because it's just an image, and you know what I mean. But I don't know, it felt really, really special. But I want to take a moment to talk about the elephant in a room, and that's why the sign is here. Because Wonder Woman's got a cover, Superman's got a cover, Yara 4, Harley and Poison Ivy. We've even got Nightwing has a cover, which to me feels like the biggest bait in the world. Like, you're gonna have him with a gay flag and not make him queer, but that's conversation for another day. The one character that does not have a queer pride cover is Batman. And I can't help but feel like that is very, very intentional because of the fan base that Batman has and the type of people that cult of Batman, if you will. And I think it's DC being a coward
and not just making it gay.
And not just making it gay. And I'm not saying make Batman be gay. I mean, he is obviously a little bit gay. I mean, we've all seen him. But let Batman be a queer ally. Let Batman hold a gay pride flag. I don't care. Let me see it happen. But I don't think it's going to happen because I think that they are a little afraid to do something like that.
And so there is a story that's in the works right now. It's called Batman Year 18, Barely Legal. And
every time
it's going to be Batman is going to be the queer leather daddy of your dreams. So,
and just like that, DC Comics has blocked this channel because we just made their flagship character queer. But yeah, I just want to see more of it. There's also the fact, and I was thinking about this after the announcements and after I was thinking about everything, but with the New 52, or I guess the trailing end of New 52, they confirmed or made, or whatever you want to call it, that Selena Kyle Catwoman was a bisexual woman. And I remember reading that as a bisexual woman, that my favorite character, arguably, I mean, the character that I have thousands of comics for, maybe not thousands, but definitely hundreds, you know, she was bisexual. Ever since they announced that 5 or 6 years ago, we have heard absolute crickets. There's been nothing about her sexuality. She's gotten married to a man, which queer people can be married to people of the opposite sex and still be queer. But when you don't even mention it, when you don't reference it, I mean, and when I bring up to people that Catwoman is bisexual and they say, oh, well, no, she's not. And I'm like, she definitely is. Just because you didn't read that comic and then DC never mentioned it again doesn't mean she's not. And kind of makes me wish that she had a story in this anthology, because I think that would have been really impactful, and I think it would have been really important to see a bisexual woman who is in a heterosexual relationship right now, but still identifies with her queerness. I think it would have been really, really important just to see that. But DC's not the only one coming for our wallets, because Marvel is also doing a queer pride anthology, and I'm thankful for the big two. I know what they're doing. I know they're not doing it. I mean, they are doing it because they care, because I think the creative teams and the editors are really great, but they're coming for our wallets. Let's be honest.
They really are
coming for them.
I am very excited about this one because I really love Angela, and I think that she's got her own story where, like, her queerness, I don't want to say is the center of it, but it definitely is, like, it's a big part of her story.
I mean, when you go to hell for your girlfriend, that is a pretty big part of it.
Yep. So I don't know if she's getting her own story, but I know that she's definitely on the cover, and I'm really excited about that because I really like it.
And then Marvel is also doing variants. They're not doing them more so where it's characters as like allies. It's actually more so just variants of these queer characters. So we're getting covers with or not with Angela. Well, we might be, but they haven't announced it. But I know Dakin is getting a cover because he is bisexual. I know America Chavez is getting a cover because she's lesbian, and then there's two others that I personally didn't recognize. But one of the other things that I really like too about from both anthologies is that they are written and illustrated and, for lack of a better word, done by queer creative teams.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me even happier because now it's queer voices writing queer representation. And like I said, it's not something that I always wanted the big two to do, but I was always like, well, they're never going to do it because it goes against the majority of their fan base and they don't want to anger,
Mm-hmm.
3/4 of it, just that way a quarter of their fan base can be represented. You know what I mean?
That sounds like cancel culture to me, right? So I really, I think that the people who complain about cancel culture have never been canceled before. And I think that something that a lot of I want to say old school comic fans, if you can call them that. If you don't like queer characters in your comics because that's not the way that it's been done, you're not a real comic book fan. But I do think that these people tend to forget that cancel culture isn't coming for Mr. Potato Head's dick, right? We're not coming for a fucking animated rabbit's tits. Cancel culture usually comes for queer creators. It comes for queer characters. And like, sorry, y'all. My cat is like being rude right now. But oh my God, literally, he's like tearing everything up and then he's like kissing me right now. I deeply apologize for
He's
this.
like a Sour Patch Kid. First they're sour, then they're sweet.
He is. But anyways, I'm trying to go on like this cancel culture has always come for like queer creators, for creators of color, for people who don't fit inside the norms. And even think about all of these really cool characters that we could have gotten in comic books if it wasn't for the fucking Comic Code Authority, where even when these publishers weren't adhering to Comics Code Authority and they took the label off, Chris Claremont was going to make several characters queer, kind of did, but couldn't officially make them queer.
Who though? I'm curious.
Who?
Yeah.
Mystique.
Oh
He
shit!
was going
Yeah,
to straight up make Mystique queer, but Marvel's editors said, you cannot make any of these characters homosexual. We have a very specific thing where you can't make these characters queer. So I want everyone who's complaining about Mr. Potato Head's dick, like, y'all need to get the fuck out of here. Like, is this your first cancel? Because like queer culture has been canceled since the beginning. Well, not the beginning, but like for decades now. So
yeah.
that's my little mini rant about cancel culture.
Cancel culture. That makes me. There's so many characters in the world that I just wish were queer or that are scream queer, and I feel like from editing standpoint they can't be. Can I, for self-indulgence's sake, can I go over my thread of characters that should be queer?
Yeah.
Because I did a whole thread on Twitter when all this got announced, and I'm like, think about all of the, and I specifically went after DC because I feel like Marvel has more rep than DC.
Mm-hmm.
It also helped that I'm just more I am more in tune with DC characters than I am with Marvel right now. So I guess I'm kind of biased. Okay, so here's a thread nobody asked for of DC comic characters that I wish they would either confirm or make queer because they scream anything. Also, Jean was supposed to be queer. Yo, I would love Jean Grey so much more. If little... All right, yeah. Make it gay, cowards. Where's it at? Right,
make it queer, you cowards.
So this is gonna piss off a lot of fanboys, but Jason Todd Red Hood, hate to hear it, but that boy's bisexual. Don't know what to tell you. Read a Red Hood comic that is not written by what's his name, Scott Lobdell.
Okay.
Any other comic written by somebody else, Jason is gay as fuck, and I don't even care. Helena Bertinelli, the Huntress. If you've read anything where she's with Renee Montoya or read anything where she is with Batwoman, you can tell that she is that straight girl that is really, really confused. And I think me and Jay were talking about this where she knows she's hot and she's a straight baiter, but when she gets a little bit of lady action, she realizes what she's been missing out on. So make her
one
queer.
bad breakup away.
one bad breakup away from being queer. Beatrice DaCosta, otherwise known as Fire, and Tora Olafsdottir, otherwise known as Ice. I don't know to tell you, they're lesbians. There was actually, and I gotta, because I'm currently in the middle of reading all of Fire and Ice's history because I am like zeroing in on them right now and I'm obsessed. There is a part in their continuity where Ice dies. And so there's this other character who comes back and she's called the Ice Maiden. And she literally dresses up as Ice and makes Fire happy because Fire misses her so much. And it's definitely hella fucking gay. And I'm like, all right, DC Comics, make it gay. Here's another one for the fanboys that are gonna get very mad. I hate to tell y'all, but Bane, big buff stereotyped Bane, he's definitely asexual, which falls on the queer spectrum somewhere. And don't know what to tell you. Read Secret Six makes me feel asexual. Bane has never really had a lady friend, so until confirmed otherwise. Also facts, hard facts, which he's the best at what she does. Floyd Lawton, aka Deadshot. I'll just tell you, read Secret Six because it's the gayest shit I've ever seen. He's not straight. And then Connor Hawke, Green Arrow, who doesn't really like women, but doesn't really, he does like women. He classifies himself as a romantic. So he is, and I see that comment there, Jay, and I agree with you. I love it. I love where this conversation's going. If this is how queer we're getting now, imagine how queer we're going to get during Pride Month, y'all. This is just a sneak peek. Yeah. But Connor Hawke basically is pansexual because he doesn't really, he doesn't look at women's attributes. He doesn't look at men's attributes. He's just like, I want somebody that I can spend my life with and that I can love and be loved by in return. And I'm like, I just love all of my queer, non-confirmed DC Comics characters, y'all.
Maybe they'll do more queer baiting and just keep taking our money.
I'm falling for it, so I'm the prime target suspect. Don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, queer representation is super important, especially from these big-ass companies that kind of paved the way for why we're all fans of comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just make them gay.
Make it gay, you cowards.
So I feel like there's a couple of books that we did want to talk. I've got a stack here of stuff, but I'll probably wait to talk about these for a later day. But there were a couple of advanced previews of things that we got. You read one and then I read one. So you go ahead and go first with the book that you read, and it comes out this week, right?
No, it comes out May 5th.
May 5th, okay.
May 5th. So I recently got a chance to read Beckstar, which is a new release from Mad Cave Studios, who we love in this house. Mm-hmm. Beckstar is a fun bounty hunter ride. Think Cowboy Bebop mixed with Vagrant Queen. It's literally, with maybe a little razzle-dazzle loop in the third in there somewhere. It is just a fun sci-fi ride where, I don't know, if you like science fiction and you just want to see a really rad bounty hunter, if you want to see some of the coolest art in comics, because the art stylings for Beckstar is absolutely gorgeous. We're also getting that cover by Sweeney Boo, which is beautiful. The character designs are great and they're inclusive, and I just had a really fun time. So if you want something that's got a lot of really great character-driven moments, has some really great character designs, and it's just a fun space romp, pick up Beckstar when it drops on and tell your local comic shop you want it, because I know that a lot of comic shops don't carry Mad Cave titles the way that they should.
Yeah, agree. I think that if like for me personally, I think that there's been a shift, at least over the last year for me, where excuse me, Image has been like the number one indie creator for me, but I swear, like, Image number ones have been so disappointing for me lately. With Carmen, with Deep Beyond, with Mercy, all of these books just haven't been hitting the mark for me. And I feel like Mad Cave, Vault, Aftershock have been so consistent. So I really feel like if you like the independent style with that Image had, I don't know if they still have it, but I do definitely think that Mad Cave deserves to be on your list.
100%.
For sure. The book that I read this week that I really loved was, what is it? The Many Deaths of
Layla Starr.
Layla Starr. And the publisher, I want to say, is it Boom or is it Dark Horse? Okay, so it's Boom, but it's done by Ram V. And I swear, you guys, like, if you've been here since the beginning of the show and you talked about how, or you listened to us drag Carmen to death, then whatever this book is, to me, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, like, took all of the bitter taste out of my mouth from Carmen, and I cannot wait to pick up The Many Deaths of Layla Starr by Ramvi. Basically, what ends up happening is that this angel of death, this character who's been doing it since the beginning of time, ends up losing her job to downsizing. So she ends up having to go into a mortal body. And one of the reasons why she loses her job is because there is a baby that was born that's going to cure mortality, or that will grow up to cure mortality. So this woman loses her job, and ends up getting sent down to earth, and she's like, I'm gonna kill that baby. So
I mean, I would. If the baby was coming for my job, I would kill the baby.
yeah. So I mean, it's wild. I think that if you did enjoy Carmen, it's not that you're not gonna like The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, but I really, really do think that these two writers could have had the same exact idea and the same exact plot, but the execution, like, the art was gorgeous, the colors are gorgeous, the story, the way that it flows is incredible, and it just solidifies why Ram V is one of my absolute favorite writers right now.
He's fantastic. He continues to put hit after hit.
Yeah.
I know we both liked These Savage Shores. You absolutely loved Blue and Green and proclaimed it as your comic of the year last year.
Favorite book of 20. I mean, there was a lot of great series that came out last year, but since this one wasn't like a series, but I think that Blue and Green needed to be read all at once. It couldn't have been read in single issues. Seriously, greatest story.
And then he also did Catwoman, and then he's got Radio Apocalypse, which is coming up from Volt Comics soon, which I should be getting a preview copy for that soon. So hopefully we'll be back talking about it, and Jen can continue to freak out about Ram V as she does. But yeah.
So good. Maybe she should become business partners with the baby. We'll see. I don't want to spoil anything, but this book does come out in May, and my cat is fucking rioting right now.
Is that him making all that noise?
That's him making all that fucking racket. I'm telling you, he's a terror, but I love that boy.
Luna is out here disrespecting surroundings, and I love it.
So, one of the books that, because I did read quite a few books, one of the books that I want to talk about, and I'm going to talk about a couple just really quick. I did end up reading Patience and Esther. It is a glorious lesbian romance. Like, if it was Downton Abbey told by the servants and queer as fuck, this is it. It was really, really good.
And that's done by Sarah Seal?
Cyril, yeah.
Cyril? Okay, because I read their artwork was featured in, they did a anthology called Fresh Romance.
Okay.
And she did one that touched my heart, and I was like, oh my God. And then unfortunately, Fresh Romance never got the second volume that it was solicited. But I really like their artwork, and I've seen that pop up a couple times, but I thought it was just a web comic, so I'm glad to know that it's been published, because now I can read it.
It may have been a web comic, because there's a backup story that's set in modern times, but this does get really filthy. It is done by Smut Peddler. So when I say it gets a little bit filthy, it really does get a little bit filthy, but it was still really, really good and wholesome.
I'm gonna put it to the top of the list.
Another one of the books that, man, I read this and it just, it was beautiful. There were moments that I found myself crying. Thirsty Mermaids, it's basically about these mermaids who like to get drunk, and they're like, shit, we're all out of alcohol. Well, you know where there's a lot of alcohol? On land. Let's go ahead and do a spell. We're going to go ahead and grow legs. And they end up having to get jobs, and they end up like basically trying to find purpose in their, not just their life on land. And there's one of the like character arcs with is her name V. Well, anyways, it was so good. I found myself like crying while reading this, and it was absolutely spectacular. So Thirsty Mermaids was really good. And a couple of the books that I did read, I don't know. So anyways, I've been trying to read a lot of books this March. I did end up picking up a couple of the DC Ink books.
I see that Black Canary in there. I see you. I see you.
So there was Raven, and then there was Black Canary. They were all really, really good. But the one that I loved the most was Nubia, especially thinking about the 1-year anniversary of the death of Breonna Taylor, or the murder of Breonna Taylor. This book does not shy away from social justice issues. And this book also had me crying multiple times. It was so good, and it was so delightful, and I think everyone should pick it up.
That one's been on my list to pick up, so I definitely think I'm going to have to add that to the top of my list as well. But it's just proof that I feel like with these DC original graphic novels, I've yet to read a bad one that I did not like.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally feel like maybe that's not where the money's thriving, but I think in terms of genuine storytelling, these original graphic novels are where they're thriving right now.
Yeah, I agree. I really like them because you can not really know who Black Canary or Raven are, and you can read these and just get like a quick little taste. So highly recommend that. So, you know, wholesome smut, and then just like teen focused books, I guess. So
quite the range.
Life is a beautiful and rich tapestry there. Anything else that you would like to talk about?
So want to talk about this real quick. I'll probably be talking about it more in one of my comic book review wrap-ups, but I finally read Harleen. This was a good book. Did not expect to become as obsessed with it as I did. I literally read this almost in one sitting. It was absolutely insane. First of all, Stefan Sejic, I fucking hate you for making me mildly attracted to the Joker. I sent you some texts where I was like, Joker looks like a lesbian here, and I'm all for it. So, but in terms of just storytelling, so this kind of gives us a look into Harley Quinn's past, how she sort of falls for the Joker, and just, it was a very, very good book. And there are scenes that Stefan Sejic does where I'm just kind of like, this is some good ass storytelling. And I personally would love to see, I know there's been rumors that he might be doing a Poison Ivy book. I know it's something he's passionate about. I personally would like to see him touch more on Two-Face, because we kind of get a little bit of a Two-Face origin in here. Would love to see him touch on Two-Face. Would love to see him do more characters like Mr. Freeze, possibly some of the smaller characters like Black Mask. I just think he would do really well if he continued to do like focused origin books for some of these villains, or maybe even not origin books, but I just like this. Also, I really like this format. I kind of adored this oversized format. I thought I hated it with Wonder Woman Dead Earth, because I read Wonder Woman Dead Earth in its single issues. So I think reading it in these little magazines, I was kind of like, this doesn't feel good and it feels awkward. However, when you get all three compiled like this in this big kind of coffee table-esque book, it just fits really, really well. And it was comfy and cozy, and I had a good read. But Harleen, I don't like Harley Quinn. I hate Harley Quinn. I hate her. I'm sorry if you love her. It doesn't matter if she's Harley Quinn. Doesn't matter if she's New 52 Harley Quinn, Suicide Squad Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey Harley Quinn. Don't care. Don't like the character. She's annoying to me. I made me like her.
I agree. I think that she's never been one of my like favorite characters, and I think that there's so many problematic things, and maybe it's just because of the people who've gotten a chance to write her. But I was convinced to like Stepan Sejic after reading Sunstone, and I'm surprised I haven't read Harleen just yet.
It was definitely a good book. The other thing that I'm reading, and this will kind of segue into what I want to talk about. I am completely back on my bullshit with rereading the Green Arrow pre-boot run by Judd Winnick, Kevin Smith, and Brad Metzler, but mostly Judd Winnick. This book makes me really, really emotional. This is Green Arrow at his best and at his worst. And I say at his best because it's the best Green Arrow arc ever written, but at its worst because it is Green Arrow constantly fucking up. So we see him cheat on Black Canary, which is absolute bullshit, because how do you cheat on a woman like that, Oliver Queen? He cheats on Black Canary. His whole family turns against him because of, the way he keeps screwing up. But then at the end of the day, this whole book is about his family. It's about him. It's about Black Canary, about Mia Dearden, Connor Hawke, Roy Harper, and how at the end of the day, Oliver Queen is this rich white man who just wants a family and is always looking out for the little guys. So this book was written almost 15 years ago now.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think those runs I remember coming out when I was just about to graduate high school.
It's about 15 years old, but it still feels relevant. And it's him talking about how white people are always in control and how they always have the power, how it's the little man that can never get by, how it's queer people that are oppressed, people of color that are oppressed. And I really just want a Green Arrow ongoing again. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot, especially with our climate and the nature. He is my progressive bae. Absolutely. He is the liberal king. I stand. I'm telling you right now, Oliver Queen would have dumped all of his money into the Bernie Sanders campaign. I want a Green Arrow ongoing again so bad because it's a book that we need right now.
Yes.
Facts, 100% facts. Holy, this is why Green Arrow is my favorite. He's the anti-Batman, quite literally. We desperately need another hard traveling heroes again. I feel like it's time. I want to see Green Arrow profess himself as a self-proclaimed SJW.
Yeah.
I want to see Oliver Queen marching along with the Black Lives Matter. I want to see him advocating for trans rights and trans equality, because that's just the type of character he is. And again, this is DC Comics, I think, being a coward and not willing to put a character that is supposed to come off as because Green Arrow is very macho, manly, masculine. He's everything. He's Batman, but everything Batman isn't. And he's not the type of character that you would expect a rich white man advocating for every other group possible. I think it's time. I want to see it. I want to see it ongoing. I want to see it as the most politically active comic on the market right now. I want it so that way the fanboys come out of the woodworks and try to cancel the hell out of Oliver Queen, because listen, it's not going to happen. But speaking of Oliver Queen, they did just announce a Green Arrow 80th edition or 80th anniversary one shot. Which we've seen with Detective Comics. We saw with Catwoman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, where they're $10, covers for every decade. But I literally sent you a video crying hysterical because on the cover, we see the Green Arrow family again. We see Roy Harper, Black Canary. We see Emiko, which has recently come about with the New 52 runs. But we finally are getting back Connor Hawke and Mia Dearden, and I don't want to say that I willed it into existence.
She did.
But I've been reading these books for the past 3 days, and then now all of a sudden, DC Comics is like, here's these characters again that you've been begging for 10 years. And I'm like, I'm here for it. You're going to get my $10 because I will be buying pretty much every cover possible, except for maybe the Frank Cho one, because I've got a gut feeling that one's going to be the Black Canary book and it's going to be bad.
I have something I'm going to send you. Remind me to send you a Frank Cho thing later today.
Is it Frank Cho with Yara Flora?
Yeah, but then it's something even funnier.
Oh God, because Frank Cho, I hate that man so
Yeah.
much. I who had an encounter with him once, and it was very, very interesting to say the least. But a Green Arrow book, I just want a Green Arrow book back, and I'm gonna buy 10 million copies of this anniversary special, whatever. The only thing that I'm a little depressed about is Judd Winnick. It is his not returning to write a story. Phil Hester is, who did the artwork for these runs. He's actually writing and illustrating a book, so I feel like that's going to be as close as I'm going to get to Judd Winnick returning, because did some research a couple of days ago and found out that Judd Winnick and DC Comics are not on the best terms. So I don't know if Judd Winnick burned DC or if DC burned Judd Winnick, but I learned that he did walk off of the New 52 and not in the best way. So I don't think I'm ever going to get Judd Winnick writing on DC again, which is a shame, but I just want. Yes, I had it out with Frank Cho a couple years ago at a convention. He is very unpleasant. Okay, quick story time. Here we go. Story time. Oh, Frank Cho, a couple years ago, he wrote a Red Sonja story. Can't think of what it is, but it's like 4-issue miniseries. He wrote a Red Sonja story. And let's be honest, Red Sonja stories outside of Gail Simone can be very tongue-in-cheek, very cheesy, very lame, whatever. You name it.
Even Gail Simone's run is very much, I would describe it almost like that, but very nuanced in like a
Very
special way.
nuanced, exactly. But it can be a very for the male gaze sort of
Mhm.
book. That being said, I love Red Sonja, and she's my favorite red-haired wife, but whatever. So this series I took to Frank Cho because I loved it so much, and I took it to him, and it was my first ever experience with him. It was before I even knew about the bad history of Frank Cho. And we were talking, and I was like, oh, I loved your Red Sonja book so much. Would you ever consider coming back to the character? Because I feel like you got her perfectly. And again, this is before I knew about the history of Frank Cho. And he looked at me and said, nah, I don't think I would ever write that whore ever again. And I was like, I
Wow.
just kind of like this look. I was like, whore? Like thinking in my head. So I had my books out, and he was in the process of signing them. And he got through 2 of them, and I kindly just dragged my books back before he could sign 3 and 4. And I was like, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the convention. And I walked away. And since then, I don't like Frank Cho. His art is gorgeous in certain fashions, but as Chris said, he is very unpleasant and immature. And 10 out of 10 would not recommend an interaction with him ever again.
It's so funny how I feel like as good as like some writers, like artists, as great as their work can be sometimes, there is always a story that I hear about a creator like that, usually coming down to like having an interaction with a fan. And since then, there are so many that I'm just like, you know what? I heard a friend say a very like nasty experience with a creator. Never, like, no.
There
Um,
are some that I will never.
and
Whew,
to me, that
whew.
explains so much of every single, like, to me, that's like the psyche and probably how he treats women. And whew, thank you
Yeah, you don't
for
just say
that.
that whore and get away with it. I'm just like, don't like this. Don't like this at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. So, Frank Cho, I have a book for you and it's called Carmen. I feel like you'd really fucking enjoy it. Um,
I think he's
but
doing one of the variant covers for Carmen.
you
It would
know,
not surprise me.
I do really enjoy the cover, but Milo Manara did one of the covers, and I think it's really pretty. But and I think that there was like an interaction between Frank Cho and it's pretty famous now about like Frank Cho getting something done by Milo Manara, where
It was
basically
a
you can
Spider
Spider
Woman
vulva.
cover, and you could see the whole butthole. And I'm
You
like,
could see Spider Woman's butthole and
why?
vulva. Yeah. So yeah,
Why?
yeah.
This is
Why?
not how women's bodies are. This is not how clothes work. Have you ever seen a
No.
woman?
Yeah.
Because these drawings are making me think you have never seen a woman in your life, and we're just holograms at this point.
I do identify as a hologram.
I think Luna does too.
I think he does too. But I think it's about time for me to wrap up because I've got to go to work and I've got to feed a cat apparently because that's all my life is now. But I know that you've got a couple things coming up on your channel. Hopefully, we'll get to see that soon.
Hopefully
And
it deals with me getting very drunk and talking about certain comics and comic characters. So it's going to be a fun time.
so if you haven't already, go follow Mars on YouTube. If you haven't already, follow her on Instagram. You're pretty close to 1,000, and like in my opinion, you should already be like way
I'm
over that.
so close, and I
yeah,
just want to do this giveaway and get rid of
yeah.
the things in my house. So if you want to follow me, please, I don't want to do this, but like I just want to do a giveaway. And if you want to win some really cool stuff, you can follow me at that comic girl with 3 L's because there is some loser that stole that comic girl, has never posted, and Instagram won't release it. So if you also know somebody at Instagram and can release the title for me, I would be greatly appreciative.
So thank you everyone for being here on a beautiful Sunday where we lost an hour of sleep, but we're still here. I hope you all have a wonderful, beautiful day, and we will see you next time.
Bye.